I built 12 trading algorithms and gave them 6 figures. Here's what happened. This is my equity curve for December, and I want to be completely transparent with you. I didn't touch a single trade. My algos executed everything, so there was no manual entries, there was no discretionary actions, and over the past 6 years of trading, I've built a portfolio of now 12 algos that trade futures, crypto, and even equity markets as well. This month, it did 15.9% total return with a max drawdown of 7.16%. But this is just the surface level details. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what happened, show you the good, the bad, and some of the unexpected things as well, and how letting computers trade for me was probably the best decision I ever made. Now, if we scroll just back up, here's the X curve for December. So as you can see, it wasn't a straight line up, straight going to 15.9%. There was definitely a lot of ups and downs. Especially there were around 350, I think, trades taken in total for this month across the 12 algos that were running. As you can see, some parts I got huge jumps on certain days, and I'll kind of get into that in just a second. And other days, I pretty much gave back all those returns, and then it scaled up back again. Now, if we more get into the kind of nitty-gritty details, here you can see the 12 strategies broken down into net profit, drawdown percentage, and the trades they took. Now, the reason I hide the names is because once you start building a lot of strategies, I've probably backtested close near probably 1,000 strategies, maybe even more now, you start to lose track of them. So the best thing I've ever found is that you name them extremely clearly as possible, so that when you're doing documentation or when you're trying to revisit them, it's very easy to understand what it's doing and what particular trading style it's doing. So for top performers, if any of you were to guess, I think I put it on Twitter, silver was definitely my top performer. So I had a swing strategy on silver. Also, it traded other commodities as well, but primarily a lot of the P&L came from silver, and that was 4.2% for total return given to the portfolio. Now, no surprise here, because primarily silver was in a huge uptrend, so as long as you're doing a basic trend following strategy, you were able to capture a lot of that momentum. And in total, it only took actually 5 trades. So it primarily was holding quite a long time, but this did lead to one issue that I haven't actually encountered for quite a long time. I'll mention it in just a second and kind of explain how I fixed it. Now, the next top performer that's worth mentioning in my opinion was primarily an NQ trend following strategy. This did about 1.63% return. And this was primarily just because NQ did actually have some really decent upward moves this month. It did give up a lot of those returns and then actually get them back. But for the most part, it was able to capture momentum very well. And this was done over 42 trades. It's a bit more of an intraday strategy. Normally for intraday strategies, I'm never running anything as low as like 5 minutes. Normally it's going to be around the 30-minute time frame, and then maybe 1 to 2 hours, give or take, for intraday. And then the rest are going to be normally swing trading as well. Now, the worst performer, I will say actually a bit shocked this month. I thought I was going to at least have one strategy that was going to draw down maybe 2 to 3%. But no, my worst performer was pretty much break even with minus 0.18%. And this was a mean reversion strategy. And for whatever reason, didn't do very well this month, and that's totally fine. That's just how algorithmic trading goes. We did also have a couple of strategies that really went into drawdowns. As you can see, the mean reversion strategy did lose about 2% in its max drawdown. Same with this other strategy that finished up 2%. And those contributed to a lot of that volatility you saw here earlier, where, we're still getting decent moves on both sides. But luckily, because I am running quite a diversified portfolio of 13 strategies, these all slowly even out each other, and we can still see the general pattern is moving up to the right. Now, next, I want to talk over one of the kind of trades on silver. As you can see, it's a very simple trend following strategy. I'm not going to reveal everything about it, but primarily it was just getting long the next day open and then closing a couple of days later, and it was able to capture a huge move. I say this because you really don't need to have super complicated strategies to be successful in algorithmic trading, at least from my experience. Now, obviously your experience may differ, but also from a lot of other, way better quants than myself, or systematic traders that better than myself, like Robert Carver, Ernest Chan, etc. They all do preach the similar thing, that simplicity normally is the most robust measure. Now, this means you're not going to be getting crazy returns. This particular month for me was a very high return month, and I am also taking on leverage, as I'm always transparent about that in futures. This is not 17% if you are actually gauging it, the amount of money that's being managed and moved around, including that leverage. This is just based on the actual margin or the amount of capital I have in that account and how much that is growing by. So it's just something to keep in mind. Now, this month was crazy, primarily because commodities was just going absolutely wild. It's been a very long time since I've seen commodities move like this. And that meant a lot of the different brokerages, especially in the futures, were upping margin, meaning you had to have a lot more money on that particular account for intraday, and even you're holding overnight as well, which occasionally sometimes I am as well, especially for some of these swing strategies. So this meant that I had to primarily primarily moved some of my strategies over to micros, just because I was trading a lot of symbols. I was also trading sometimes overnight margin, right? So I was going to need to have more capital in the account. And then two, just because a lot of trades were happening this month. Everything was really quite volatile, and there was a lot of good new signals that were coming out of the strategies. Now, this did ultimately hurt P&L a bit, but I'm very happy I made this decision and didn't risk a margin call or something like that. So I made sure to be quite conservative. I definitely sized down a decent amount of my strategies, but overall, because how crazy this month was, still a very good P&L. Additionally, there is also slightly differences between minis and micros, especially when you're trading the same sort of strategy. Sometimes micro price action is going to be slightly differently. So sometimes that can affect the returns of the exact same strategy that you're putting on mini compared to micros, just because they have slightly different volatility sometimes. So that probably also gave up a bit of P&L. Now, next, I always like to show what is my long and short P&L, because I think it's a big misconception in trading that everyone thinks that shorting is a place you can easily make money. In definitely niche areas of the market, you definitely can. I started with small cap shorting, and that was an incredibly profitable area and still is. But when you're running risk premiums or things like trend following, mean reversion, etc., normally shorting actually is quite a difficult thing to crack to get decent P&L from. So traditionally, on these sort of recaps that I do every month, you'll see my short P&L normally be around break even or losing a bit of money. Now, this month was quite different. I'm quite surprised that short P&L really contributed quite a lot, especially with long P&L as well. So overall, I can't really complain. It was just a very good month on that side of things. Now, next, I want to show you correlation. This is something most people aren't going to show you just because they're not maybe running as many strategies, or maybe they're not being systematic in that essence, and that's totally fine. There's a lot of successful discretionary traders, but when you're running a systematic portfolio, you really need to be careful about your correlation. The reason being is, let's say you're running two strategies and you think they're different strategies, you think they're trading maybe different products or different assets, etc., but actually they're one-to-one correlated. That primarily means you have one strategy running with double the exposure. And that can be a very tricky thing, especially if you've prepared for that. It's going to be maybe a max drawdown of 15%, but now you have to times that by 2, and that's 30%. That's a very different calculation and very different sizing. So this is something I want to normally look at on a monthly, quarterly basis. Now, I normally won't take action on just a single month of high correlation, but if you watched previous last months, I did actually have quite high correlation last month as well, which was a surprise to me. This month, again, I've had decently high correlation. I'm not going to give it as an excuse. It's more that I think that commodities traded absolutely wild this month, and that added quite a lot of correlation to my portfolio. So I do think in the future, I'm going to have to be a bit more careful when trading commodities, especially if it continues like it is right now. So I might be lowering size on some of these, and I might even remove one strategy, but I'm going to give it probably at least 1, maybe 2 more months before I make that full decision, because I never really like removing a strategy without enough data. So we have 2 months of data now that we have decently high correlation on some of the strategies. So I do think I'll slowly be sizing them down at least, just so I'm aware of that correlation and I don't have any crazy drawdowns from that. But removing them altogether, I'm probably going to take another month, maybe 2, to decide if I'm actually going to fully remove that. Now, next, I just wanted to show you the NQ market overall. As I kind of mentioned, we had decent long action kind of coming into the middle of this month, and then it gave back everything and then recovered everything. So that's why a lot of my trend follow strategies did quite well. A lot of the P&L primarily came from this section, and obviously the shorting side came from really this day, really only 2 days where it really captured a lot of that P&L. These sort of beginning days, I think we were treading along. Overall, the systems were doing okay, but primarily these 2 massive moves were the main ones that caused a lot of the P&L this month. And lastly, you might be thinking, well, how do I do this? If you're interested in doing systematic trading yourself, I personally use NinjaTrader for futures, which is fully algorithmic. So I set up code or write my own code on NinjaTrader, and then that submits and sends orders. Then I also go through direct APIs. So if I'm trading something like crypto, I'll normally go directly to the exchange, like maybe Hyperliquid, which is a decentralized exchange, or I'll go to Binance, for example. Additionally, if I'm trading something like Interactive Brokers or DAS, then I'll be using their APIs as well. The language will sometimes differ. Sometimes it's in Python, sometimes it's in C#. Just depends on what I need for that particular moment. I also have a ton of videos on this channel explaining more around systematic and algorithmic trading, so feel free to check those out as well. I hope you had a great month, and I hope this was useful.